been kind to send in your email questions, and we want to take a few moments to address those. Pat, this first one is from Harry, who says, the Bible says there is no sadness in heaven, no tears, no pain, etc. Considering this, can we assume that our loved ones in heaven can see our happy times and successes, but they're shielded from seeing our sorrows and failures?
No, I think we can assume no such thing. I think what we can assume is that they can't see anything we're doing. They know we're there. The time about the rich man and Lazarus, the rich man says, I've got brothers, can I go talk to them? But he wasn't aware that, I mean, the dead people aren't looking on you and me and looking in our bedrooms and seeing what we're doing or what we're eating for dinner. I mean, they just don't do that. And so you cannot assume they know our happiness, nor do they own our sorrow. There'll be no sorrow, no suffering, no pain, no tears for us, because we're going to be happy, period.
We've just done this whole DVD on life after death, and the people who talk about going to heaven are so overwhelmed with the magnificence and the glory and the beauty. They're just kind of all there.
I think that's it. You're living in the presence. You're living in the presence of the Lord, and you're just not concerned about any other thing. But no, you're not looking into the suffering of people on earth. That was a wrong assumption. Go ahead.
Okay, this is a viewer who says, I'm feeling a deep conviction that my walk with the Lord isn't as solid as I sense it should be. However, I find it difficult to stay in the Word regularly, to take time daily to get away and pray, and to be still and hear from the Lord. My family, my work, my responsibilities are always on hand for viable excuses, but I sincerely want to get on the right path so I feel more in tune with the Lord. Where do I start? How do I disconnect from the world long enough to get my life right?
When I was a young Christian, just starting out, I had left business and was in seminary. We had a family at the time. I believe we had 3 small children. And you know what little kids do when they wake up in the morning? There's an awful lot of confusion. And little kids, you know how it is. They cry, and they want to have, you got to change their diapers and feed them and all that stuff. All right. I then was studying at seminary to try to, get ready for whatever God had for me. I was working at a church. I had all kinds of stuff. I had to commute back and forth in New York City. And what did I do? I had to get up early in the morning. I had to get up ahead of those children, which meant I had to get up at about 5:30 in the morning, whatever it was, spend time in the Bible, seeking the Lord, praying and studying. Then the day would start, and I was okay. I'm sorry, you see, the day gets ahead of you. Yes, it does. It'll get ahead of all of us, which means you have to beat the day. You have to get up early. And the Bible says, early will I seek you, and that's the answer. So set a time, set your alarm, and you'll feel sleepy and tired, you don't want to do it. Well, if you drink tea or coffee, have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or whatever, get up and seek the Lord. Read the Bible. Let the Bible speak to you. And pray and talk to the Lord. Tell him your problems and roll these burdens onto him. Don't carry them around with you. Now, some people think at night is better. I don't think so. I think early in the morning, and that's the way you do it, okay?
That became a lifelong habit for you, too.
It sure did, and it's, I mean, my day would just, it'd be horrible. The day starts out not having some time with the Lord. I mean, it's really a mess. Right.
This is a question from Diana Pat, who says, I'm a believer, and my boyfriend is a non-believer. We've been together for 5 months. In the Bible, it says as a couple, we should not be unequally yoked. Can you please tell me what will be the consequences if I continue my relationship with my non-believer boyfriend?
You will have fights. Your boyfriend will ask you to do things that you don't think are right. He won't understand why you won't do things that he wants you to do. He won't understand the business about being led by the Spirit. He won't understand that you think you ought to tithe as a family. That you want to go to church, you want to do these, whatever you want to do. And you'll be constantly struggling. Billy Graham said it very wisely. He said, somebody who marries an unbeliever takes the devil as his father-in-law. And I think that's what it is. These people are not subject to the law of God, and you are. So you've got a totally different set of principles and standards to live by, and you want fellowship. You want to share with your husband or with your wife the deep things in your heart. I was talking to the Lord, and he said, And if the other spouse is sitting there laughing at you, say, don't believe in all that garbage. I mean, before long, it'll deaden your spirit. You'll be miserable inside. That's what'll happen. So the sooner you break that relationship off and find somebody else, the better you'll be. Do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. That's what the Bible says, and the Bible is right.
Mm-hmm. This is Ann, who says, can you tell me the scriptural basis for worshiping on Sunday instead of Saturday?
No, I can't.
We appreciate your candor.
No, actually, the Bible talked about, the Jewish Sabbath starts Friday night, goes through Saturday. Saturday was the day of rest in the Old Testament. The reason the Bible says on the first day of the week, they went to the tomb, and the tomb was empty. He is risen, and there were angels. So the early church began worshiping Jesus and meeting together on the first day of the week, which is Sunday.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened. It was scriptural basis. It's the custom of the church. And I don't know of any scriptural basis. But the Bible clearly tells us that we're not supposed to be subject to days and weeks and months and years and seasons. We're supposed to be free from that. God is a spirit. They that worship him worship in spirit and in truth. It doesn't matter what day you worship him, you're worshiping in spirit and in truth. That's what he wants. All right.
Okay, this is Russ, who says, I've heard that one of the reasons for the flood was to rid the world of the Nephilim? Nephilim, the offspring of fallen angels and human women from Genesis 6. What do you think?
I think it's nonsense. We have absolutely no scriptural basis on that to think there's this race of evil beings and the Lord had to flood the earth. I mean, I've heard some of the Bible teachers say that. The Bible says the earth was filled with evil, and the men's heart were on evil continuously. All the people on earth were given over to murder and robbery and rape and lust and all this kind of thing. The people were, and God says, I will destroy them. I regret that I've made them, and I will take Noah and his family and start something new. But nothing in there about Nephilim. I mean, it makes a wonderful story. I mean, it's so intriguing. You got a guy on the television and on radio, and he's teaching about this, and they say, man, listen to that. Isn't that, it must be those fallen angels. There's nothing in the Bible to support it. That may be in some of the extra biblical literature, but it's not in the Bible, and I'm talking about Bible. All right.
This is Rebecca, who says, Pat, I was just studying in the book of Job, chapters 1 and 2, on my lunch break today when I had this thought. Knowing God is holy and sin separates us from him, why then did God allow Satan to come into the Lord's presence, much less talk to him? I would think he would not even waste his time to converse with Satan.
You got to be careful. You don't speculate too much on things. But the Bible says the sons of God came together. You see, we use the term Satan, which is the adversary. But his name was also Lucifer, which meant the light one. He was the most important created being. Now, remember, Jesus wasn't created. He's God. But Satan was the most important created being, and he was among the sons of God. The Bible in Revelation talks about the devil being thrown down to earth because his days are short. But in the time of Job, he had access into the counsels of God. You'd think God would be disgusted with him because he'd already had rebellion against God, but he didn't. So he had access, and God said to him, where have you been? He said, well, I've been walking up and down the earth. And so he was out there trying to test man, and God allowed him and has allowed him over the years to walk freely so that there would be a testing of the faith and the allegiance of mankind to God. And if there were no tester, no tempter, then where would be the victory that we have to, in order to have a victory, you got to have a battle. And God has allowed Satan to have a certain amount of freedom, but he has severely circumscribed it. And the Bible says the day will come when the angels will come and seize him and cast him into the pit, and he'll be tormented forever and ever. So that's all I can say.
Yeah, but that's not the plan for us, right?
Huh?
Not the plan for us.
Not the plan for us. And but yes, in the somewhere along the way in the councils of God, the sons of God came together, and he was one of them.
Yeah.
And the time came that he was thrown out of heaven, but maybe Job was, the scene set there was prior to that. It must have been, I don't know. Okay.
Well, we appreciate all the questions that have come in.
Yes, we
Lots of
do.
good ones. So thank you very much.